Morning, everybody. We are just hours into 2015, or 2015 as you prefer. Not sure if there really is a correct way to say it, but you know what that means. It is once again time for my year in review. In this case, it's the 2014 year in review. Or is that year-end review? Or is it year-end review? I don't know. You be the judge. This is where I discuss some of the highlights, news highlights, and highlights in my own life for 2014. I've been doing this for, probably a couple of years now. I think this will be my third one that I've done of these year-end reviews. And so, let's get right to it. The highlights for me in 2014 started right at the beginning of 2014. What better way to spend New Year's Eve 2013 and ringing in 2014 by standing on the Las Vegas Strip with probably something like 200,000 or 300,000 other people to enjoy the incredible fireworks show that occurs in Las Vegas on New Year's Eve. Las Vegas is well known for that, and for the first time ever, I got the chance to actually be there among the crowd in one of the optimal spots for the fireworks. The fireworks were nice and loud and just amazing. And what more can I say? I mean, that was a beautiful way to begin 2014. Couldn't go wrong there. The weather was perfect. It was actually warmer than it should have been. It was probably in the high 40s, which is, warm for that time of year. It was good. So that was an awesome way to begin 2014. And we move along, and one of the things that surprised me about 2014 was how dry it was. There was almost no rain for the entire winter season. This was very unusual, and even now, I'm surprised at how dry it got. In fact, there was very much drought conditions most of the year, severe drought, in fact, for much of the Southwest. Also, beginning in February of 2014 and continuing through the end of May, I was continuing my education at Antelope Valley College, and I attended some classes there, including what I came to call my nightmare class. Why did I call it my nightmare class? Because the instructor in that class, he apparently thought that he was better than everybody else, and that everybody else, if anyone didn't understand something he was saying, that was obviously they were wrong, he was right, kind of mentality. He would even spew out occasionally misinformation and state it as though it were fact, which I caught him doing that at least a couple of times during the semester. It was a class that I was glad to be done with when it was done. He, right up until the end, I actually wasn't sure if I was going to pass, because even right up until the final class, he was, I told him in front of the entire class how I felt, and he didn't like that. I wasn't the only one that felt that way towards him, though. There were other students I know that felt that way. But fortunately, I had a really awesome classmate that kept me happy, and actually made me look forward to going to class. They would keep me cheerful, and they would, give me rides home and stuff, and they were really cool. So, in fact, to this day, I still have them on Facebook. So, it was really cool getting to know my classmates as is always the case when I'm in school. So that occurred throughout the spring of 2014. In March of 2014, I did a rather unique thing. In early March, around the 7th of March, 8th of March, that time frame, another first for me, I got to go to the Mexican border. That's right. I was at the, what I call one of the main border entrances at San Ysidro. Basically, the farthest south you can go in California, San Diego. I literally touched the fence. In fact, my fingertip was in Mexico. The rest of me could not go to Mexico, no passport, so couldn't go on the other side. Neither was the people I was with did not have passports either, so I couldn't go into Mexico
Voiceover on.
either.
Screen curtain on. Viewfinder. Take picture.
So
Stop recording video.
that was,
Take picture. Stop.
that's how that went. Sorry about that. I was just checking on something. One of the main reasons that I went down to the Mexican border was to... This is going to sound nerdy and geeky, but hey, that's me. One of the reasons I wanted to go down to the Mexican border was to roam onto an international carrier and then, try to make a very quick phone call back out, here to the United States. I wanted to say that I've roamed onto an international carrier. And I thought by going to the Mexican border that I'd actually be able to do it. When in fact, the coverage with my cell phone provider, Verizon, was and is so good that I had full-scale service all along the border. We actually went several places during that entire weekend. We went to the border, we went to Coronado, which that's pretty cool. You can get there by ferry. It's a little island. And you can get there by ferry or by car. There's an actual bridge that'll take you from the mainland there in San Diego, Mission Beach area over to Coronado. So that was pretty fun. And then the very next day, we went up to Mount Wilson, where I got to do something else that I'd never been able to do. Well, actually, I shouldn't say I'd never done it before. I had done it once before, way back in 2000, I believe it was, 2001. I went up to Mount Wilson, where a friend of one of my good friends works up there at the NBC transmitter site for, NBC Channel 4 up there on Mount Wilson. And there's a bunch of other things up there that he maintains, but I got to go up there and experience that. There's video here on YouTube of some of that. So that was pretty much the end of that weekend. So that was a very fun-filled weekend. Would that be the second weekend of March? But on that same weekend, a very, very mysterious news event happened that to this day is baffling all kinds of people. While I was in San Diego, an airplane going from, where was it? Somewhere in Malaysia over to China, was it? Beijing, China? Malaysia Airlines flight MH370 vanished after flying for hours. Unknown what was going on. No trace of the wreckage has ever been found to this day. We're talking almost 10 months since the incident, and there's still no clue as to what happened. So the disappearance of MH370 was a fairly big news event of 2014 that just happened to occur during the same weekend that I was hanging out around the Mexican border and around San Diego and going up on Mount Wilson. That all occurred that same weekend. And so then we jump ahead to probably the highlight of my year. I did do Field Day this year, by the way, the ham radio event that I do, but I did it in Bakersfield. I was almost going to do it in Las Vegas, but there was some uncertainties as to whether they were going to even have field day, and logistically it just seemed easier if I just did it from Bakersfield, which turned out to be fun. I did spend a few hours out at the field day site in Bakersfield, and enjoyed doing some radio operating there. It's pretty much my one time during the year that I can get on HF. Even though I have the license for it, I don't have the funds nor the equipment to do it normally. So that was fun. I got to do that. That was my kind of my ham radio highlight of 2014. And then pretty much immediately after that, I was off to Las Vegas once again. But this time, I was going there to do something that I've been planning for 3 years, since I knew that it was going to be in Las Vegas, and that's attend the 53rd National Convention of the American Council of the Blind, which was held at the Riviera Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, Nevada, in July of 2014. And I had a blast over there. That was some of the best 8 days of the entire year. It was amazing. I got a hell of a deal on the room, or at least I think I did, compared to what others were paying at the same facility in other locations. But I had a great time. Got to experience some very cool foods. Very awesome friendship was had. I socialized quite a bit, met some of the people that I've chatted with online for years, including I got to meet Drew Weber. I got to meet Mika, a good friend of mine that I've known for, she wouldn't say she's a good friend of mine. She's a friend of mine that I've known. She lives up in Washington. And met her, and I met others from the Las Vegas area and surrounding areas. And so generally had a great time at the convention. Those 8 days just flew by. I had my own room, and we had all kinds of adventures. Much of that is archived on Audio Boom, which, by the way, that changed its name this year in 2014. That service used to be called Audio Boo, and I don't know why they had to change it, but they did. And to be honest, I like their old name, but oh well, what can you do about that? Gosh, and then, also going back a minute to back in March, something that I didn't think would happen actually happened. My roommates, my good friends, Robert and Kira, and they are good friends. I've known them for years, decades. Well, okay, I've only known Kira for 1 decade, but Robert I've known for over 2 decades. They moved out of state. Now, I was expecting them to do this. They'd been talking about it for a while, but I actually had thought they were going to wait until the end of the summer to do it, or I should say the beginning of the summer, when my semester would have ended. However, they decided to do it in late March, right around the time of spring break, actually. So, while they moved to Oregon, as I didn't want to hinder my semester that was going pretty well, decided to stay in the Antelope Valley, where I'm from, and I hung out at, I took residence up at a good friend of mine, Michelle, her family and her place, where I hung out for the rest of the semester. And her daughter is actually pretty cool. Both of her daughters are actually very cool people. But she is busy with a big family and lots going on over there. So the only complaint I have about where she's currently located is that the cell phone service sucks. But I've known that since 2012, when I spent my first Thanksgiving over there when I first met them. But it was all good. So my roommates, my good friends and fellow roommates moved to Oregon. in March. And now I would later go to visit them in September. Yes, I would. I would go visit my roommates. And that trip proved to be a little less exciting than I had originally hoped because they were working much of that time. And by the time I went up there, uh, the daughter was starting school, and so there wasn't really much time to do much. But I had actually hoped for a tour of a data center that my friend Robert works at. He still works there, actually. Um, but that wasn't to be. I guess they couldn't get it approved due to uh, issues going on internally at the company that Robert worked for and stuff. So lots going on, and despite me being there almost a month, I wasn't able to get a tour of the data center. I was really looking forward to that. I, that probably would have been the highlight of 2014 had I actually been able to do it. Instead, actually, the highlight of that visit was probably meeting Robert's sister's kids, because we actually ended up watching them toward the end of my trip there. We were there for about, what was it, 5 days, I think it was. And so I got to meet them, and some of them are actually quite cool as well. So that was pretty neat. The train ride going up to Oregon was probably by far the neatest road trip I've ever taken. You know, because it involves 3 trains, or was it 2? I don't remember anymore. But you know, the long train. You know, you pick it up in Sacramento, and you take it all the way up to. You could actually take it all the way to, I believe, Seattle. Or if not Seattle, you could certainly take it all the way to like the Eugene area, Portland, Eugene, somewhere around there. You could, you know, take it to there. But what's cool about that train is I would find out later, that train goes all the way to Los Angeles. So if I wanted to, I could get on that train, take it all the way down to Los Angeles. Then from there, I could go to various places, including San Diego or points north, like Palmdale, Lancaster, all by way of the Coast Starlight, which I learned that schedules are not necessarily maintained and are not necessarily guaranteed on Amtrak. And I guess that's true for any large travel that you might do. For example, coming into Oregon, when I got to my destination, I was 3.5 hours behind schedule. And then coming back, when I got to the destination in Oregon, it was actually looking likely that I may not make the train and that I was going to have to spend an additional night in Oregon, which I would have had to rearrange travel schedules and things, and that fortunately did not happen. But I did enjoy the trip. You know, most of it was pretty light, and like I said, not much actually happened other than just chilling and relaxing and just seeing what my friends were up to, which was pretty much. Oh, they moved while I was there. Yeah, they moved from their small apartment to their bigger one, which I actually was not planning to be there for. It ended up that they were able to move in about a week earlier than first thought, so I actually was there when they moved, which was not planned, but that worked. I got to see their new place. So that was interesting. It was just across the way, little ways from where they started out. So I got to see both of their places in Oregon. So the trip up was cool. The trip back was cool. So I can add, in 2014, I could add another state to my list of visited states. So now I have officially visited every state in California. Let me try that again. I have officially visited every state that borders California. as I have visited California, obviously, and I've visited Nevada, Arizona, and now Oregon. I believe that covers all, and I've even been to the Mexican border, so I think I can say I've visited every single border of California. I just realized that. How about that? Well, well, well. All right. Now, we move further along. Not much really else to report until November. I spent yet another Thanksgiving in 2014 with. Also, by the way, before I stop talking about my summer, almost forgot. How dare I forget this? In July of 2014, I got to go to a restaurant unlike any other restaurant I have ever been to. It was here in Las Vegas, and it was during my time here in Vegas following the ACB convention, because I stayed here in Vegas a little while after that. And that allowed me to visit the Heart Attack Grill. Yes, the Heart Attack Grill, where right off the bat I tackled the double bypass burger. Oh yes, I definitely did tackle this thing, and I finished it, much to the amazement of all of my friends, including myself. This was a very big hamburger, and it was a very good hamburger. The Heart Attack Grill is the place to go if you want to see just how much you can eat if you love hamburgers and french fries, but mainly if you love hamburgers. They have burgers that will just make you... I haven't even eaten their biggest burger, nor do I think I can eat their biggest burger or even come close to it, as I will discuss in a minute. The Heart Attack Grill is on Fremont Street, so I got to experience the Fremont experience that night as well. We also... Was it that night, I believe? We also went to the Bellagio, where we experienced a bit of a water show. That was pretty cool. God, hard to believe that was back in July. Man, where does the time go? Then, I pretty much wound down my summer. Between that and my trip to Oregon, that was pretty much my summer of 2014. And also, in 2014, in November, I spent Thanksgiving at a good friend of mine's place. We had Thanksgiving there again, as I had for the previous couple of years, and that was a lot of fun. So, for the third consecutive year, I did Thanksgiving with Michelle and her family, and that was awesome. And we actually ended 2014, well, not quite as we began it, but the original hope was that that was going to be the case. I will not go into why that did not happen at this time, but I come to you now to tell you that my original plan was to end 2014 the same way I began 2014. On the Vegas Strip, at the fireworks, and right up until yesterday afternoon, literally minutes before we were to begin that adventure, that was the plan, and then things just took a turn to make that not happen, very last minute, and needless to say, even now, I'm still kind of upset over what happened there and how it all went down, but I will not go into why here on this channel. My hope is that here in the coming days, a first adventure of 2014 will be glorious and exciting. But the one final thing I did do in 2014 that was cool, that I must mention, is I visited Heart Attack Grill once again. Yep, I did it twice. Once on July 29th and once on December 27th. And on December 27th, I was even more daring than I was on July 29th. While all of my friends around me had single bypass burgers, which is slightly bigger than your average, hamburger, I had the triple bypass burger. And there are videos here on YouTube of this thing and me eating it or trying to. And I actually did finish it, but it was, if it weren't for the glass of Coke that I had, I would not have been able to finish that burger. That burger, that pretty much tested, that was my absolute limit of how much I could eat. And that wasn't even their biggest burger. Now, I thought I could eat quite a bit, being a semi-small person and all. But not to be. Not to happen. Not this time. But, wow. I mean, just absolutely amazing, that place, Heart Attack Grill. If you like hamburgers, go there and test your guts, quite literally, to see how much you can eat. And that was the last really, really awesome thing that I did in 2014, and walked down Fremont Street once again and heard the Fremont Street experience do its thing and all that. So that was pretty cool. So what will 2015 bring? Well, I'm hoping to attend Antelope Valley College for one more semester, which will take me through the spring. I hope to maybe visit my brother, either my brother and niece down that I visited in 2013, or my other whole set of brother and nieces that live out in Texas, which I may get the opportunity to do that possibly this summer. That is still up in the air. That's still in the works. That could be something I might be doing, but we will see. Also in 2014, newsworthy events. There were some pretty awful space events that occurred later on this year. I believe it was during November. Spaceship Two suffered a catastrophic failure. Loss of Spaceship Two occurred over Mojave during a test flight that occurred. And this occurred just days after a rocket launch off the coast of Virginia failed and exploded just 6 seconds after liftoff. And not a good year for spaceflight, except for the test flight of Orion, which occurred just a few weeks ago. That was a blazing success. What NASA hopes to be the newest spacecraft in its fleet. They're going back to rocketry, kind of like the old Apollo days, and they sent up their Orion test rocket up to 3,600 miles above the Earth, I believe it was, in a 4-hour test flight that was virtually flawless. So that was very exciting. And toward the end of 2014, we did finally get some rain. I believe in December alone, we had, in Lancaster, California, we had 2.6 inches of rain fall. And that's more than we'd received in the previous many, many, many months. So we'll see what the rest of the season brings. And so that ends another 2014. Of course, there was another disaster with Malaysia Airlines. An airliner got shot down over Ukraine, or in Ukrainian territory. That's been a big thing in the news. Russia and Ukraine and the whole territorial takeover, whatever that is. It's pretty much dominated the news much of the year. You had the Nigerian schoolgirls that sadly got taken from their schools. What was it? Over 200 girls. A few of them managed to escape, but much of them are still missing. So sad. You know, in those countries. Oh, and the Ebola outbreak. We can't forget that. The Ebola outbreak. That everybody panicked over Ebola, even here in the United States, when you're more likely to get the flu than Ebola. But that's how it rolled. That's how the media went with it. And that was a pretty major event, you know, during the second half of 2014. Of course, the iPhone 6 and iPhone 6 Plus came out, the iPad Air as well. I will be getting my own iPhone 6 or 6 Plus, probably 6, but we'll see, come my birthday, actually. I will have, for the first time, made 2 years since I did my thing with the carriers. I've never been with a carrier for a full contract term, and so Verizon will be the first one. They've proven themselves very well over the last couple of years that I've had them. So I will likely be renewing with them. And I may get a prepaid option later on as a secondary carrier, just to have something to compare if desired. So, I believe that's all the major stuff. I've definitely rambled on a lot longer than I originally thought I would. I will get this up, well, whenever I can. It's been fun. I think overall 2014, a lot of interesting events. If I missed any, feel free to mention them in the comments. If you knew that I did something that I forgot, which I don't know of any people, or like any news events that I might have forgotten to mention, feel free to mention them. Of course, we had the elections. Don't forget them. They were just kind of, mostly Republican, whatever, you know. Mainly interested in the presidential elections, to be honest with you, but there they were, the midterm elections of 2014 for the U.S. And, of course, iOS 8 and the announcement of the Apple Watch, which will be out later this year. In fact, not too long from now, that will come out, and I'm not interested in it. I'll stick to my phones and such. So, what is it? OS Yosemite, OS X Yosemite, OS 10 Yosemite is now the current version. So that came out last year as well in 2014. So may everybody have a blessed 2015. May it offer hope, and may it be better than you thought it would, and may it not get you too down if it tries to. But I hope that 2015 will be a good year. This year, the ACB convention will be in Dallas. There's a chance I might be there, but it's too early to know that for sure at this point. So I hope I'll still be doing something cool this summer. If it isn't going to Dallas, it'll be hopefully visiting other family I have in San Diego. If they're still in San Diego, that is. So we'll see what the year brings, and I hope it'll be good. So, from me to you, those of you that are crazy enough to watch my channel, even though it has mostly boring stuff on it, and I occasionally try to put up the exciting stuff when I can, take care, enjoy, and may you have a blessed 2015. From Las Vegas, Nevada, this is Monty, KD6CAE, saying, Happy 2015.